Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Sam. Thank you for popping in. You'll be in the bushes. Um. Oh, I got notified of my own live. That's funny. I think I'm under my other profile on my phone. Whoops. So I'll give you guys a few moments to get notified. So it's good to see that the platform is sending it out fairly quickly. Good morning, Lash. Blessings to you today. I am just okay. Everything seems to be a-okay. You can hear me and see me clearly. So today we're going to talk about the Herb Garden Challenge, which ended on the 25th, which was Tuesday. And we'll chit chat a bit and discuss what we've learned. And even if you were not actually in the challenge, um, certainly contribute because you all are growing herbs in your own time. And you may be just doing it on your own, not to compete with anybody, just competing with yourself, which is perfectly fine. And I have other herbs that I was trying to grow that were not in the challenge. So even though you may not have been in the challenge itself, please, we're talking about herbs in general and particularly things that you're growing this season, why you're growing them, medicinal benefits. Good morning, Carbon Q. Also, just a disclaimer, this is not medical advice. This is not you know, scientific advice. We're just having a conversation. Do your own research, talk to your own doctor before you start taking anything to make sure it's not going to interact with medication. This is just a conversation, but you are responsible to take professional advice from a licensed professional and do your own research because not everything is for everybody. Disclaimer. So for the herb garden challenge, we had to grow 10 herbs this season. And it was from March, was it? Yeah, end of March, and it ended on June 25th. This timeline I found was much better for those of us in the northern climates because I think the previous year it was in February, which is kind of why I did it. Good morning, Darren. I did it in the hydroponics. That was a colossal um bust because certain herbs don't really do well. Plus, some of them are difficult to germinate, and that just made it more difficult. Plus, I was new to, and I still am fairly new to hydroponics, so that didn't make any sense. I thought it would be better, but it wasn't. And some of the seeds are so tiny that you have to drop a few seeds and broadcast them, and you can't really broadcast in a um the hydroponic sponges. Maybe if you're doing it in a different type of machine or setup, where you have larger net cups and maybe you're doing something different, fine. But for what the standard person is doing with the standard at home kits, it didn't really go well. The leafy greens that are herbs would have done well, but I had an in-house aphid infestation. Good morning, Glamour Planner. This year I did everything in soil. So what I learned, and we can um, discuss, I did it in soil, indoor hydro soil. Thought that it wouldn't give me bugs because I had a gnat issue from 2 years ago that had me traumatized. What happened? There was some gnats. But because I had already had the gnat scandal of 2022 or 2021, I was prepared. I knew what to do. So shout out to G Mama for telling me what to do that time. So I had the mosquito bits, I had neem, I had yellow traps, I had hydrogen peroxide, I had all the things that I needed to do to eliminate. There's one or two gnats still lingering around that I can't get rid of, but they'll get dealt with soon. Somebody told me to put apple cider vinegar traps for the gnats. I did. I saw some in the trap, so there was more than I even accounted for. The yellow traps are full of gnats. I boiled the soil with hot water. There were still a few gnats. Some people don't believe in boiling the soil. I don't. Same with bathing. When you bathe, can you kill every bacteria and thing on your skin? No, there's still things on there. Despite what you may think, there's still things living on your skin, your eyelashes, your eyebrows, all over the place. So I think the same thing for soil. If you boil hot water, you're not killing everything, but hopefully you're killing all the eggs. So This year, it wasn't that bad. In terms of germination, well, before we get, yeah, we'll talk about germination. Did anybody have any issues with germination that was in the herb garden challenge, or even if you were not? Have you had any issues germinating your herbs? And was it indoor, outdoor, and why? I know Sam is in the background. I think she was having a hard time and she kind of left the challenge. Hey, Broke Farmer, good morning. Um, I didn't have any issue with germination. Surprisingly, all my herbs germinated quite quickly. It's after that that it became a problem. Herbs, in general, this is general. Most of the herbs are very easy to germinate. They're pretty low maintenance. Once you put it in the right growing medium, important, and the right temperature controlled environment, the dome to humidity, it's fine. Unless it says cold stratification, let's not talk about that today. It was fine. When it germinated now, that's when it had difficulty because things are growing at different paces. And then you're trying to keep things at the same pace, but you really can't. You got to put things on different shelves, you got to space them out differently. And when you're indoors in a colder climate, that's what caused my issue balancing all the herbs. Some want to run, the watercress wants to run. Let me see here. Herbs are the hardest to grow from seed. It can be. Maybe, well, I haven't tried all the herbs. I am having a problem right now. I've tried 3 to 4 times to do the wild bergamot, the bee balm. I got the seeds from a local, I bought seeds, but the seeds that I'm using, I got from a local horticulturalist that was giving out a whole bunch of seeds. So they've been grown in my zone. They're already used to my climate, and it's a perennial in this zone, anyways. Haven't had one thing germinate. Now, this is where you have to do more research because some of us, me, get very frustrated and like, why isn't it growing? Stupid, start cursing the plant. Watch what you say because your words might keep that seed from germinating. Trust and believe. So some seeds don't want to be buried. Some of them need to be sprinkled on top. So I'm going to go back and review the packet instructions, and I'm going to review, how other people have done it. Maybe it likes to be sprinkled on top and doesn't want to be buried very deep or at all. Some seeds I've noticed from the instructions, and when you actually do a bit of research, need light to germinate. So sometimes what we're doing is we haven't done any research. We're treating every seed the same. And then we get upset that the thing's not germinating. I purchased some bee balm from the nursery, so it's outside, and I harvested seeds from last year, but nothing's germinated. Good morning, Juicing with Jay. Let me see here. After 2 years, I finally got my chamomile to germinate. I have sown seeds. And the funny thing is, we've never planted chamomile. It just seeds itself. I think we purchased it once at the parents' house several years ago, and seeds are popping up in the lawn. It's kind of like chives, just popping up everywhere. I've never had to start chamomile from seed, so I don't even know what that experience would be. And that's what happens sometimes. Sometimes you purchase seed or a nursery plant, it's self-seeded and it keeps coming back, but you don't realize how much work is involved in the germination process. So, yes, Bean Juice and I each had problems with 2 things germinating. And then we also had aphids and spider mites. Aphids and spider mites in the house make it very, very difficult. It's near impossible. It just upsets your spirit because you come and you see all these it's just annoying. Good morning, she said. It takes the enjoyment out of it and it makes it very frustrating. And I know for me, I was spraying neem and spraying this and that, and it just made the place sticky. It just made it difficult to grow. So for those of us who are growing indoors to start the season off, it can be very difficult. And the moisture level, it's sometimes hard to balance. I haven't really put the AC on yet. It's been hot. I put it on once, but it's been very hot a couple of days just because I still have squash and stuff over there to my right, your left. That haven't been planted. I put a few outside last night. Today it's raining, but I'm going to go out in the rain and plant those cucumbers. Like I've had enough. My callaloo outside, burnt to a crisp, and I guess the roly polies ate it down to nothing. I put beet seeds in that drum, nothing germinated, and I've never had a problem growing beets. So sometimes things are fluctuating and you have to stop, step back, and just take notice of what's changed, what has changed. When it comes to other herbs, my lavender comes back every year. I purchased the lavender. I don't think I've ever grown lavender from seed. Um, the thyme and the lemon thyme was propagated. The lemon thyme was purchased, and the English or whatever regular thyme was propagated. So again, I have not done that from seed. I only did things this time because of the challenge, which pushed most of us out of our comfort zone. Because many of the herbs, to be honest, you can propagate. You don't have to start from seed. So the challenge was to push us to growing. Good morning, Rob. Um, growing from seeds. Oh, you're in the ads. Okay. But you don't have to grow from seed. So the herb garden challenge pushed most of us to grow things from seed that we probably would not have grown from seed. It's just as easy to buy a nursery plant and sometimes less aggravation. Because the timelines were changed this year, it wasn't so early in February, it was like in March. It was a bit easier indoors. I was able to open the window to get some more airflow and ventilation. What I did find where I did not do well in the beginning, and I had to self-correct, you need to put a fan on your indoor garden. Good morning, Rob. Thanks for watching the ads. You have to put a fan. I haven't always been doing that. It's like, whatever. But it makes a difference. It definitely makes a difference with your indoor garden. If you're going to keep the plants indoors, especially leafy greens, your lettuce, your endives, and all your, like, leafy greens, it makes a difference. And I watched a video this week. A hydroponics grower sat down and just started like really listening. And he was saying that the fan helps the plant absorb nutrients. I've always had an issue with rosemary, and I buy lavender and twice. I got one seed of rosemary to germinate in hydroponics, and it was one little dangly fanky plant. It didn't have any strength. It didn't have any. It was stringy. It was stretching for the light. It wasn't good. It wasn't good, but I did get it to germinate, and it took me a couple of tries. I have not tried it in soil. It Yeah, so there's a couple of herbs that are very challenging, and I'm not even going to pick 10 herbs like that next time. Good morning, Black Guns. That don't make no sense. But when it comes to the fan, if you're starting your seeds indoors, you need to give a fan. For those of you in the warmer zones where you can start your seeds outdoors, you don't have to, because you're getting that the airflow naturally. Also, when it comes to the light, the even though my light was bright, it's not the same as sunlight. Now, some people are able to get it balanced, and they have devices to check the intensity of the light. I was watching this guy this week to help improve for next time and just in general. And he tests the light, the intensity, and all these different things. He has some kind of device to make sure it's set before he even starts his grow. And he's not growing, cannabis. He's growing vegetables and different types of vegetables. So there's a science to it. If you're eliminating nature, there's a heavy amount of science that's involved in growing indoors. And no, you cannot put on your air conditioner if you have warm climate plants in your living room. You can't put like I have tomatoes in here that are flourishing. I can't really put on the air conditioner. I put it on once because I couldn't, it was unbearable. But the tips of the leaves started to kind of burn a bit, but not really from heat, just like drying out. Um, it's a difficulty. So I'm trying to work that out for next time. My leafy greens indoors are still doing well. For some strange reason, the bok choy indoors is doing well. I thought it was on its last leg, and I just kept it in there because I didn't get around to cleaning the unit. Why is that bok choy looking good? So the herbs that had the most problems were the tarragon, because I did not put it outside once it was all germinated and doing well and under an inch in height, no, when it got to about a 1 inch to 2 inches, I should have really put it outside with some kind of dome cover so it can continue growing, because it began to stretch for the light and it became stringy and just was all tangled in each other like tangled noodles. It was hard to separate them to transplant. It just made it very difficult. Um, and it wasn't getting what it needed. The soil that I used, it says it's moisture, good for indoors, but it does not hold water. I would have to have been having the water sitting in the bottom of the tray. Good morning, D Mood, of the bottom of the tray to keep sucking up. And it was just too hard to manage all the trays that I had, water not spilling, and all the different things that were going on. So I would need some kind of, I don't need, but I have to find a way to keep it watered and maintain the moisture easily. Because if you let the soil dry out, you're gonna go backwards with the herbs. That's what I found. I think a lot of you had similar issues who were starting indoors. Outdoors, same problem. You have to test and make sure that your pot is absorbing the soil. Let me see here. My husband turned on the AC right when right where the lemon tree was. The lemon shriveled and most of the leaves, yes. And people don't really consider that. So that's why I didn't put on the AC really yet. So some of these plants need to get out because they're getting tangled. Most of the plants have flowered. The male flowers came through, and all of a sudden they're shriveled. Like they need to go outside. They're being stunted, and they need to go outside. I did a video this week. I have to edit it, but the neighbor's tree fell over on my side. Big old tree. Fell on the shed, which is like the chicken coop part, almost hit the chicken run. Thank God it didn't. And when I went out an hour before, it was fine. An hour later, I see this big bush, and I'm like, something's different. Like I did really notice it, all this shade, and they were uneasy because I guess it smashed down, and they were just uneasy for like 3-4 days. Wasn't really getting a lot of eggs because they were stressed out. She had somebody come and professionally remove it, but I had to move everything on my side out the way so that he can maneuver easily. So right now, everything's just shoved all over the place. And some things weren't getting rainwater that used to get rainwater. And a lot of things in just 3 days, because it was Monday, it fell on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday it was removed. So I moved everything Monday night. So 4 days, it was the tomatoes were looking shriveled up. Everything was looking bad. My herb garden was looking bad. 1 second here. Do those lemon trees keep away the mosquitoes, or is that another plant? I think you're thinking of citronella, maybe. Citronella. Lemongrass does that as well. Nothing's 100%, but marigolds do that. And I think what's the other plant? Lavender. I don't think they like lavender or any of the mints. I don't think they like many herbs. But the best thing to do is no standing water, no moist environments, shady environments, no overgrowth. My neighbor has a lot of overgrowth, so there was a lot going on. So I burn those torches. Even last night, I just burned a couple of torches while I'm out there gardening, and I move the torch wherever I am, and that seems to work fine. Smoke and citronella candles, lemongrass, numerous things can get rid of mosquitoes. Putting things lemongrass for mosquitoes, but it attracts bees. Yeah, I don't mind the bees. They don't really bother. They don't, except for the carpenter bees. They're rude. They come right in your face. Yeah, I burn torches. It's just easier. I don't like spraying things on my skin. I used to use the bug repellent, and it works. I use it if I'm wearing a long sleeve shirt and I spray it on the clothes. I don't spray it on my skin. But I think somebody said you can rub some leaves together, a certain plant, and then rub it on your skin. I don't know if it was some plant I saw this week. I can't remember what it was. Uh, Even some like cinnamon and water. They spray themselves with cinnamon and water. It keeps them away. They don't like it. Sometimes bees, yeah, sometimes, but they don't really bother. I leave them alone, they leave me alone, um, and they do their thing because I have a lot of herbs in my garden, flowers, and they love coming in and getting their pollen, so I kinda put them in spaces where they're not gonna really bother me. What's bothering me is the flies, and obviously, 'cause I have chickens, so that's not surprising. I have a lot of fly traps out, maybe well, 3, and they're doing their job. The herbs are also doing their job, and it's right now time to harvest the herbs. I need to harvest, and start using them, drying them and putting them in bottles. Something about some leaves, I don't know which plant it was. I saw it this week too, but I can't remember. Um, Good morning, TLC. There's a plant that you can use, maybe it's pepper, a mint leaf or something, people just rub it on their skin while they're out in the garden, and it keeps, the oil from the leaves. When you rub it on your skin, it goes on there and keeps the bugs away. Um, I can't remember, sorry. I'll have to look back on my history to see which one it was. But there's natural remedies for mosquitoes, but I find most the problem with mosquitoes, if you have herbs, it's not so bad, and I did plant specific herbs in my garden to get rid of because I had a very, yes, I think it's lemon balm, Sam, thank you, I think it is lemon balm. I think you're correct because I have about 2 plants. I knew it was something that I had, and they rub it on their skin, and it works naturally to keep the plants, the mosquitoes away. But shady, damp environments is kind of a problem. And if your neighbors aren't keeping their lawn, mowed down properly in the overgrowth, it doesn't matter what you do, which is my problem. It doesn't matter what I do. So I'm trying to talk to him and catch him outside and basically, without saying it, bad words, mow your damn lawn because it's getting out of hand. My house and the lady on the other side can't enjoy being in the backyard and we're gardening. She's gardening now. She got a whole bed and everything installed, and we're getting eaten alive by mosquitoes. But lemon balm is a very good herb. That was pretty easy to grow. Also from seed. It's a perennial. If you cover it and, put straw around, if you're in a cold climate like me, to protect it for the winter, it'll come back. I put mine in the garage, came back no problem. My stevia came back. I don't think there's any herb that's not a perennial in a zone 5B, 6A. If you're warmer than I am, you probably have no problems with herbs. Northern than I am, maybe a few you had to put a little bit more effort into keeping, but for the most part, my thyme, my lemon thyme, my lavender come back every year. Some of the flowers that we grow are also herbs. The calendula, the even hostas and stuff are edible. Daylilies are edible. There's quite a few floral plants that are actually herbs. Um, yeah, I can't call City Hall because I have chickens and I'm not supposed to. So it's kind of a catch-22 for me. I can't call them unless I'm going to hide 6 birds in somewhere else, which is my problem. Even though I'm not following the rules, I'm not keeping my place nasty. And it doesn't smell. The only thing that you smell when you come to my backyard, what you think is chickens is not chickens. You're smelling the fly traps because those smell like disgusting to catch the flies. But the actual chicken area, you're not smelling anything. And just the way I move, I don't call the city right away. I think we can have a conversation and sort this out civilly. If we can't sort it out, then you call the city. I'm not going to be a Karen in that regard. I think people can have a conversation with each other. People love to call and make anonymous calls and file complaints. It has its place, but if that's how you operate, I'm not really a fan of that. I think I can tell you to your face and that I'm not pleased with the way the yard is being kept. It's eyesore. It's ruining, our gardening experience. It's causing excessive, bugs. I can tell somebody to their face. Every time somebody comes over, they look over there, it's a disgusting eyesore. So, yeah, but I can call the city hall, but what's that gonna accomplish? I don't really think that's gonna make the relationship very positive. Um, so I'm not gonna really do that as a first option. That's the second, third. We've had um we've had people complain on us when I was living with my parents still, just because they could. And I really am not a fan of people smiling in your face and grinning teeth, and they're the ones that are complaining on you. It's just it doesn't sit well with me. Anyways, back to the herbs, and I'll drop the link for those of you who want to share thinking about the herbs in general. What herbs are you expanding to and grow, and why? Now, um, my Renaissance grandma is excellent. She has a lot of wealth of knowledge with herbs. You can go to her channel. She has different videos. She makes different products. She has a Etsy store. She has soaps and different things that she makes, and it's all natural. She makes natural seasoning. Many people have tried it and purchased it from her store and highly recommended it, made videos on it. I think it's called Miss V's and Victor's collection. She sells products, and last year, I think David Corey got to name her newest soap, which was called Gray Sweatpants. It's like a masculine kind of scent. Good morning, Virginia. And there's been rave reviews. So she's very knowledgeable. She recommended some books in the past, and I know she was talking this week, did a live about different herbs. So you don't have to. Lady V Collections, that's correct. Thank you, Sam. You have to do research. You have to be constantly reviewing, because what you think you know about an herb, you probably don't know everything. You probably missed some things when you're researching. You were looking for specific remedies for a specific issue, so you focus on those things about that issue and not really the other things that it could help resolve. And you'll start to learn how easy it is to make your own products. So hopefully the herb garden challenge got you growing things from seed. In many cases, for me, I now appreciate how much it costs when you go to the nursery, and I'm not complaining as much, because the amount of effort it took to germinate some of these seeds. And some of you other people who were in the herb garden challenge, thank you, Big Rooster. Thank you for that. The hashtag was hashtag PlanterHGC2024. If you type that into the search engine, it'll show you everybody this season who was in the herb garden challenge. And a lot of people grew some different herbs. I have the seeds for it, and I've never grown them yet, but I will be looking forward to growing them. Marshmallow was one of them. I think G Mama grew a couple of herbs, and I'm like, I gotta try that. Shisu. Shisu was introduced to most of us through Planter Garden. And it's also called Perilla. Her Pamper Me soap is the best. Smells like relaxing at the spa. I've heard a lot of great things about her products. So when I'm in the States, I'm definitely going to put in an order. But there's a lot of herbs that have great medicinal benefits, especially people who in the last few years have been looking for respiratory um, wellness, expectorants, any excessive fluid in your lungs, passing that out, excessive mucus, and you all know why in the last 4 years what was going on. So people were looking for a lot of things. Mullein became extremely popular. Everyone's up in the mullein, and certain herbs, verbena, hyssop was all through the herbalist streets. People talking about verbena. People were also talking about, right as of lately, King of Bitters. Look on the Baker Creek website to see what the description says. I'm not going to say it here, but a few of us got the King of Bitters. I haven't tried it yet, but I'm going to try it again for medicinal purposes. What are you going to do with the herbs? So I know I made a national hold on. Oh, I think you mean natural. Made a natural bug spray by combining citronella and lemongrass. I think I made something like that, and I have it for the chicken run. I think I need to spray it again to get rid of the other bugs. But yeah, citronella, lemongrass, cedarwood. I have a few essential oils that I purchased, and you just add water. Some people add some other little things. I don't know. It depends. A little soap in it to make it stick. And if you keep spraying it consistently, you'll get good results. There's no such thing as one and done. You spray it once and for the whole summer you're not going to have a bug. Really? Sometimes we do some ridiculousness. The same thing with herbs. Having a cup of peppermint tea on Monday is not going to heal you of all your ailments. These are things you have to be consistently using frequently at a mild dose to maintain good health. It's not really for reversing severe chronic illnesses just like that. You have to make other changes. You can't be eating takeout every day and say, I'm going to have some mullein and I'm going to really, no offense, but I think it's a bit ridiculous. So, do what works for you, but you're going to have to work within the parameters of the herbs. You have to start to maintain a healthier lifestyle if you expect these herbs to do what they're supposed to be doing, because you're preventing them from doing their work by clogging your system with all this processed and junk food and grease and food that's not really classified as actual food. It's a form of food, but it's not providing any nutrients. So hopefully the herb garden challenge has taught you what is good for what. And yeah, no problem. Baker Creek has changed their description on it the last time I checked. They probably got too much traffic over that claim that was made and need to leave. Okay, so you're not going to see it on the Baker Creek. So maybe do some outside research, but the King of Bitters is definitely going to be something I'm going to be growing, maybe indoors. And I bought some lemongrass from the nursery. It's outside right now. I'm going to take it out the pot, rinse off all the soil, and then transplant it in the indoor pot that I have here that's has no bugs in it. So I don't have to worry about bugs, and see if that can survive indoors for the entire, as a house plant, and just harvest it as I need it. It's very important that you understand how to harvest and how to store your herbs. I know our gardening comrade, sister Fifi at Fifi's Urban Homestead and Lifestyle. She last season had an issue with some of her herbs going moldy. And it's not a matter of not drying them properly. Sometimes where you're storing them, whether somewhere in your home or maybe the zone that you live in, is just excessively moist. If you're putting things in a basement, sometimes the basement is very moist. So you dried your herbs properly, you put them in a container, and then I think she put them in a bigger black container with lid. She went back to check them because she has herbs in her kitchen that she's using, and then she tops them up with her stash. There was mold forming in the herbs. So how you store them is very important, and that's going to be dependent upon your living conditions. If you live in a basement apartment, it's not going to be the same as somebody else who has a lot of ventilation, because a basement is going to be a little more moist. If you're in an area that's cool, a lot of rain, it's not going to be the same as somebody in a hot, dry, Arizona climate that's arid and dry. So you need to store them properly, and you need to check on them regularly as possible, because you'll be, very disappointed when you go back to now take them and put them into your kitchen jar and it's all moldy. All that work and effort has just been wasted. So harvest your herbs frequently and often. You're going to have to rinse them off, even though they're from your own garden. You still need to rinse them off, dust and dirt. Sometimes there's other bugs that may lay eggs or do the number 2. Just rinse off your herbs, make sure they're good and clean, take out any bad leaves, dry them properly. People have dehydrators. Some people dry them in an airbag outside. Some people do both. They put them in an airbag, dry them, and then bring them in and just do a short, low session on the dehydrator to make sure it's dry, and then either put them in a glass jar. They have those vacuum sealer things that can suck the air out the jars. I don't know, vacuum sealer bags, in air bags, those lace organza bags, and just put them somewhere where they can be getting airflow, and they're not going to get moldy, but they're also not going to lose their freshness and their potency. In some cases, you may want to just grind them up and put them away in a jar. Oh, she couldn't get the King of Bitters to germinate. We'll try later. So I haven't tried yet, but I only have a few seeds. So I'm going to do a lot of research as much as I can so that it can ensure success because I don't have that many seeds. I may have to make a purchase from Baker Creek and top up my seeds. Please let me know if that works growing lemongrass indoors. I'll let you know. But I bought a start. I didn't grow it from seed. A lot of people said that the seed was too hard to germinate, especially when you're not in that zone. You can buy lemongrass from the Asian stores. It's like almost like a scallion, and there's no root on it. Put it in water and let it root, and then once it roots, you plant it. I haven't tried that, but I've heard people have done it, and it's been very successful. I am just gonna take that start, rinse off the soil, clean it as much as possible, some peroxide and water, and then transplant it inside. I think it'll be okay inside because I've grown houseplants from crotons and other plants from Jamaica in the house. It's been fine as long as you keep feeding it. Now, also for the herb garden challenge. So back to the fan. If you're growing indoors, you need a fan. There's something about the wind, as I told you, I didn't know until this guy was mentioning that it helps the plant absorb nutrients. I don't know what it does. I didn't go into detail. Just watch this video. I didn't check the links for his references. Good morning, Jamaica. I didn't check his references, but he's, very particular about information and accuracy in science, and said it does something to help the plant uptake the nutrients that it needs. I guess it forces the roots to be more robust. It helps the leaves to, do something. So if you're growing indoors and you're not using a fan, you're not getting as robust results as you could if you had used a fan. You need the circulation, you need to have that movement of the plant. Something about the movement. We try to take away nature, but there's a reason for every little thing that's happening in nature. We may not know what the reason is, but there's exactly how it's happening in nature. We have to mimic everything. So that's the airflow, the wind. We can't mimic the soil because if you're indoors, most likely you're doing water. So good morning, Gina. Or you're going to Costco, or you're going to the range, or Sam's Club, one of the three. And it's very important. So nothing wrong with growing indoors, outdoors. It's just everybody has a different, unique situation, and that's why we do it the way that we do it. Outdoors is a little easier because the sunlight does that work for you. Even on an overcast day. Good morning, Planter. Even on an overcast day, that light is more powerful than the indoor LED lights. You can't compete. I'm telling you, if you guys watch my herb garden challenge this season, you would see when I put them outside and transplanted them, they were looking a little, they were there, but they weren't, there. By the last video, the evening primrose was filling out, the dandelion, the catnip is like filling out the pot. It's ridiculous. The only thing different was it was outdoors. It was put in the soil, a potting mix. Fine, that's a bit different, but it was in a potting mix from the beginning, and it was getting more rainwater than anything. It wasn't getting. I was bottling up the rainwater and bringing it inside to water the plants. For those of you that did help with the herb garden challenge, but when it was outside getting direct rainwater from the sky, that made a difference. Now, somebody mentioned on something that I watched this week, and I mentioned it, I think last Saturday. Yeah, I think I mentioned it last week, that this guy said he only drinks rainwater. And he only drinks rainwater that he's captured from the open sky. If it hit a roof or went through like a catchment system, he don't drink that one. He only drinks the one that he captured through the open sky, and then he filters that in his house, and he filters that and drinks it. There was something about those plants being outside in the open sky and just getting the water on them directly versus me watering it with what came off of the roof and off of the eaves trough system. I'm only telling you what I observed. So for some, probably a very good reason, it did better with the open sky. There's something about the water when it falls directly down to the pots and the soil that's more electrically charging, in my opinion. I'll have to do some research. Then when it hits this, hits that, rolls off this, it probably diminishes that electric charge that's in the water. When you start hitting other surfaces, other materials, It does. Did I say hi? She said, did I say hi to you? Good morning. I think I missed you. Um, there's more oxygen. There's definitely more oxygen in rainwater and less chemicals. So when he said that, I don't know, it just resonated with me. I'm like, So I know I feed the chickens for the most times, a lot of times rainwater. I will capture the rainwater and give it to them. My friend came over with her dog one day. I'm like, "Oh, here's some rainwater." He wouldn't drink. He wouldn't. He was like looking at me like I'm giving him the worst thing ever. He's too stush. He's very, indoor doggish. He won't drink rainwater. But I give the girls rainwater. I figure there's more benefits to that than the tap water for sure. Even though I have a filter on the hose, there's something different about the rainwater. Different mineral content, exactly. No chemicals. Good morning, Brampton. More oxygen, which is beneficial, and that's what happened. So when I put the herbs outside, that was it. They did much better. And it's just a lot easier when it's getting rainwater and it's getting, wind from outside and not me having to balance the fan and balance. It's too much of a balancing act. If you have the space for a proper indoor setup and grow room where things are properly positioned, then I guess you're not going to complain. But for me, good morning, Howie. For me, it was a bit difficult because, you're trying to fit it in your living room and you don't have everything the way you want it, but it's better than nothing. And it's just difficult. So I did grow more herbs this year than before. The only thing is that the bee balm is what's really problematic for me. It's not germinating. Good morning, Frugal Mama. I don't know. I'm going to have to do more research and figure out what is the reason it's not germinating. For everybody, I think the best thing to do is if you didn't have great success with every plant, look at the ones that did not do well and let's individually figure out why. Did you not put them outside early enough? Did you not broadcast enough seeds? Did you put too much dirt on top of it? Does it need light to germinate? Does it need moisture? Like there's certain tips and instructions that have been recommended on the internet and in books that can ensure success. But if we didn't really do the homework, I didn't. I just dropped seeds because you just drop seeds and see what happens. Now that some things didn't really pan out, I need to go back and figure out what didn't work and why. Especially if I'm going to start planting some other herbs that may be more difficult and I have limited seeds, like the king of bitters. I don't want to waste the seeds that I have. And then something else, I have milkweed. I think milkweed has some specific instructions. I didn't do it this year because of that very reason. I'm going to do some research on the milkweed so that when I do it next year, it's going to be successful. So that's basically, yeah, the herb garden challenge is finished. Tomorrow is I think tomorrow's the announcement, I believe. Yeah, the 30th. So we'll be over there. So make sure you check out Planter Garden TV for the end of growing celebration and prizes and so forth. Everybody's a winner, but life be lifing sometimes and you can't always do what you have to do because stuff happens, understandably, but you can still learn some valuable lessons. It's not so hard to make certain products, is what I realized. And Renaissance was talking about that on her live this week. So I always buy oregano oil. Why am I buying oregano oil? I have oregano and you can get olive oil or whatever oil fairly easy. Why am I paying for oregano oil? So now is the stage where I'm going to start venturing off to figure out how to make some of these products on my own and use the herbs that I'm growing. Making teas. I've been drinking more tea this week, mixing different blends, and I have ginger mint. Can somebody tell me? I have ginger mint. I bought it from the nursery. I'm seeing like these flower puffs along the stem, and I'm thinking, I hope it's not going to seed. Is that just part of how ginger mint grows? Or is it going to seed? Because if it's going to seed, I have to cut all of it down because ain't nobody got time for that. Oregano oil is fantastic. It's powerful. It's antibiotic. It's antifungal, and it's definitely helped me with sinus issues. I guess it helps flush out your system. So all that clogging off clogging out doesn't bother me. But you have to make sure I was just dropping it on your tongue. Don't do that. Hey, Planter, let you in. Don't do that. Dilute it. Won't do it. Morning, Planter.
Oh, good morning, Norman. How you doing? Thank you for letting me up. I appreciate it.
No problem.
No, I don't want to cut you off, really. You continue.
Okay, I'm just chit chatting about what the different herbs. So Brampton's saying she needs to pull her goldenrod from last year and start drinking the tea to see if it helps me with my ragweed allergies in August. I found goldenrod in my garden because the neighbor didn't mow his lawn. Funny enough, and some of those weeds again are herbs. We just don't know. So I think you did a video, Brampton, and I learned what it was. I'm like, oh, I have that too. I didn't harvest it though. I missed my window, so that's gone. Good morning, G Mama. And I did not harvest the lilac bush. I heard lilac bush is also very powerful. So there's some things that I missed the window for, but it's okay. Good morning, Jova. Yeah, where have you been? It's been a while. You're right. You've been hiding. Um, so sometimes dry it for later, but this is the window right now. I don't know about you all, but it's time to harvest. The basil's going, the catnip, like you gotta harvest, guys. Take the time, harvest it, dry them, and figure out after what you're gonna do with them. But dry them and put them in the jars because you're gonna miss your window. And it's gonna get more hectic as you're harvesting your actual vegetables. Don't let the herbs go to waste. But continue. I know I was talking about shisu before I lost my train of thought, but Planter's the one who introduced us to shisu. At the same time, somebody gave me a plant. I didn't know what it was, neither did they. The lady who lives downstairs brought me a plant from somebody at her workplace because she knows I love to garden, and said that she heard it was like a vegetable that a leafy green that you can cook down. I asked the lady for the name. She gave it to the lady and gave it back to me, and it's called perilla. Well, perilla is shisu, same plant. Funny, eh? So there's a green version and a burgundy version. It's those seeds will germinate anywhere, guys. So be careful where you put it because it will go in the stones, it will go in the patio, it'll go all over the place. Anyways, it has a very fragrant smell when it's flowering. When you look online, you might see that it's poisonous, but other people have been using it. So you have to do a lot of research because sometimes they say it's poisonous, but it's really maybe not poisonous. So perilla is a very powerful herb, shisu, and there's actually a scientific study that was done partially in about 2016 when I was checking I think it was the NIH website. So if you go on there, you can look some of the names of particular herbs, which is what I'm doing, and I'll be sharing that in a few weeks, like be one herb per week, and the scientific study that shows what it's been proven to do and what claims they're not quantifying until they do more research. So you'll be surprised that some of these herbs have been tested already by scientists and proven to work for especially allergies. Some are for antidepressants, some are for circulation and respiratory issues and cardiovascular issues. And it's been proven through the research with mice and rats and even some human studies that it works. So do your research, but definitely don't just look in herbal books. Try to also search onto the scientific studies to get a balanced diagnosis of what the herbs are doing. Let me see here what's if I missed. Okay, hold on. So Brampton said, fortunately, you harvest after ragweed allergies start, so you for the fall. Yeah, you have to harvest for the following year. You have to have it already in stock. Old plants are higher in oxalates, so harvest young plants. Exactly. And you hear a lot about oxalates and the negativity, but there's always a counter argument. If you harvest things when they're younger, young and tender, as Nikki would say, it's better, and also they're more potent. That's why people grow microgreens. They don't let them grow to adult stage. They eat them when they're very young because it's high in nutrition, and in some cases proven anti-cancer properties. So it's the same thing. You got to be harvesting frequently and often, and when they're young before. There's also a shiso that grows green and with the underside of the leaves purple. Oh, I haven't seen that one. I have the purple one for sure. And somebody just gave it to me. Some are good for glaucoma. There's only one herb you know, Jova. There's only one herb you keep. Good morning, Wayne. Good to see you. Um, you've been tending aquaponics farm. I'm going to be another super hot day in Texas. Yeah, it's hot. It's humid, and it's raining today over here. Speaking of harvest, I need to see what is ready. Yes, my garden out to the garden. It's okay. It's not doing the best. There's been a lot of rain. I'm glad for the rain. It helps me to not have to water. But in terms of, like, let's say, like the okra, I'm not getting the best results. Even my Thai, no, not my Thai, my cinnamon basil, I have two separate pots. One is shooting up, the other one is doing nothing. It's in two parts of the garden, so maybe that's why the microclimates, but I don't know what's going on this year, guys. I'm not getting it's not the worst, but it's not the best either. The mustard greens are going to seed, the red ones and the green ones. And on the seed heads, the flowers, I'm seeing aphids. Didn't see any aphids in the garden to date, knock on wood, on plastic or whatever this is. But the plant is looking a little, I guess, quote unquote, sickly. Not sickly, but the plant is looking like it's challenged. The weather, the heat, the color of the leaves. And now I'm seeing aphids. So back to last week's conversation. If your plants are healthy, they'll be naturally bug resistant. If your soil is healthy, which would encourage healthy plants, your plants will be more insect resistant. So it's obvious that the plant is deteriorating as to now why I'm seeing aphids on the seed head. So I cut them off and put them with the chickens. My rescue shoe never wants to germinate. I didn't try mine yet. Brampton want to try mine, but then again, I didn't have to plant them last year. I saw all the seedlings popping up in the patio, any little part, because the seeds blew off the plant the previous year and it planted itself. That's why I have 4 ganja plants right now. I didn't plant them. I said I'm going to take a year off. They popped up on their own. Now, sometimes the oh, I'm gonna put that up there. What's going on? Oops. That's their own conversation. um my wig 2023 okra had started producing more okra, very promising to harvest all summer. Man, I don't know what's gonna happen with my I restarted 4 more red ones. One has still not germinated. Like, this has really been a struggle. All I want is some okra, and I like the flowers, how pretty they are. This has been anyways. You still there, planter? I'm talking. If you want to talk, go ahead. Just chime in.
No, I'm here. I'm here. I don't want to cut you off because you was going with your flow.
No, but go ahead now. Jump in now. Wait, I don't want to leave it just me talking.
No, I mean you hitting some valid points. So I didn't really want to cut you off. You're
No
going with the
problem, but you can
flow.
go ahead. What did you like about the herb garden challenge this year in terms of the competitors and the selection of herbs?
Yes, yes, yes. Well, I'm gonna lie. I see some selection that I'm so excited about even trying next year
Mm-hmm.
because, and this is the great thing about the challenge, is about learning about so much different herbs that you never even heard about before. And
Yeah.
I've seen so much, and a lot of you guys have seen the improvement. It's so amazing. I was watching your video yesterday, and your herbs them look amazing. Everybody herbs just looking beautiful. What I love, what I also love is the motivation. Even though the people were struggling, some people were struggling so much, they
Mm-hmm.
never give up. They just continue pushing, continue sowing seed, and this is why you're looking for the motivation that other people can see. And because gardening is something, it's a struggle and it's a challenge. Every
It
year
is.
you go through different challenges. So we don't want to make it seem like it's so normal and everything is just so dandy. We all go through struggle in our garden. So the challenge to go through the struggle and overcome it is just a great sight for me to behold. So I just want to say I appreciate all the people who participate. I also appreciate the people who push to the end, because this
Hmm.
show that I'm not giving up. I'm gonna do what it takes, and I just
That
want
was
them.
really encouraging to people who's like, you know what? When Nikki's like, oh, I quit. I said to her, "Me never take your resignation. I didn't accept that resignation. Too
Right,
bad. Like
right.
too bad. You have to finish. Like you had a, it went bad, it went left, so just keep going. Because that's the whole point. If you didn't get one herb and they all died, I want to see that. I want to see what you learn. And she learned that don't use that soil, that Dollar Tree or that whatever soil, don't use it. It's not gonna give the plant what it needs. So
Exactly.
that's a good lesson for all of us to learn so that we would never use that soil in our life. It's not about quote unquote winning.
No.
It's the knowledge that we're getting from each other because a lot of people when they share their failures it's like, oh, okay, now I get why like I won't do that same mistake. It's going to help all of us and the collective. So I like that.
Yes, yes. Because that's the whole thing. The whole thing is about learning and educating yourself however you
Mhm.
can. It's not even, yes, there's prizes to win, but it's not about the prize. It's about what you learn in the journey. Because
Mhm.
you could learn something from everyone. So when you learn from someone mistake, the following year you know, okay, this post, just like you said, Nikki, use certain soil.
Mhm.
Everyone know don't use that soil because the result not gonna be great. So
Mm-mm, yeah. Or
it's all about
unless you're gonna mix it or do some kind of preparation beforehand, but note to self. And it
exactly.
what's the term? I think in Jamaica they say the cheapest is the dearest. When you buy the cheap one, it's gonna cost you more in the
It
long run.
costs you the, yes, that's
And
true.
she said that she bought the cheap soil because you want to save $1, but that dollar save cost the plants.
Exactly.
So and it's back to what you said, the soil, you cannot go from the fundamentals. Soil health is the first and foremost. You cannot compromise the soil health. When you don't
Mm,
have good soil, you're not going to have a good plant.
I agree with that. I agree with that. The soil, like I just always say, the soil is one of the most important thing in gardening. So work on your soil. That's what you need to work on. A healthy soil gives you a healthy crop.
Mhm.
You know, try to work on your soil. Try to add. Don't never try to overpower the dirt, the soil.
Mhm.
Never try to overpower that, because the dirt is what the plant need and used to, and that's what they're born to grow in. Now, when we're using other things, we got to just add to the dirt, the soil, not overpowering the dirt. And this is how you get healthy soil, because we're supposed to maintain our soil. So healthy soil give you healthy plant, and you get way more production out of a
Mhm.
healthy plant.
Way more. Way more.
Yes.
And irregardless of how we each are growing, because we all have different zones, whether it's indoor, outdoor, water, soil, whatever, you have to take time and take notice of what the plants are doing and how they're responding to what you're giving them.
Yes.
I changed my fertilizer in the indoor hydroponics, and they like this one much better. It's getting each plant has different nutritional needs, and you can't always get a one size fits all. If you're gonna plant bok choy and lettuce and something in the same tank, they each have different needs. So maybe that's not gonna work. You're gonna have to put lettuce in one and bok choy in one. When I separated the types of plants in each of the unit, that made a difference. Plus, they got different fertilizer to feed them. All of a sudden now, off of accident, pure accident, they're doing much better.
Okay.
One size doesn't fit all. You have to observe each individual plant and give it what it needs. Just because you can plant things outdoors doesn't mean it's going to translate indoors. It's a different kettle of fish. Different.
Yep. And next thing again, you see, I pay attention to every single plant. Every plant I grow, I pay attention to every single one of them. Because when you observe these plants exactly shows you what they lack of. And you understand, like for instance, you water in a plant and you notice this plant is not doing well, even though you water in the plant and it's just not doing well, even though
Mm-hmm.
you water in it. No, you got to stop, you got to ease up the water and figure out why is this plant not doing well. You see, maybe you're
Mm-hmm.
watering it too much, and I'm telling you, there's
Yeah.
a lot of plants out they really do not like too much water. And
Yeah.
I know that for a fact because all my every year I basically almost deal with a drought. It barely rain, so it's barely hot water every year, and I don't wet plants. And I see the plants that struggle, and I see the plants that do well in the heat. So when you observe, you understand that okay, these type of plants could deal with drought, could deal without water, so I don't have to water these plants too much. These
Mm-hmm.
type of plants definitely what they show in the lack of water. So this is how I identify plants.
Yeah. And I realize on your point, sometimes you have to change when you plant certain plants, the time of year. And so you're not fighting with the plant and they're not unhappy and you're not fighting that pest pressure. So right
Right.
now I'm finishing off the mustard greens. I'm gonna let them go to seed, harvest the seeds, and I might leave one more there as a trap crop for the aphids so I can focus on other things. And it's
Yeah.
really not about mustard greens right now. I'll replant the mustards and the spinach later on for a later season crop. You have to know when to time. Like sometimes we're trying to force everything into a summer garden. Sometimes you have to just relax. The plant don't like it. Why are you forcing it?
You know, you know what? And seeing you hit that point, like for instance, if I try to grow cabbage, broccoli, and these type of crop in the fall, I do not get great production. But if I grow them in the plant them like January, February, I get
Hmm.
the biggest cabbage you could get and the biggest broccoli. But if I do it in the fall, they turn seed. I
Yeah,
barely get any
yeah,
harvest. So these are things you have to pay attention to because so you know when it's best to plant them.
right. You can't follow everybody else's calendar and schedule because maybe you're in a microclimate and it just doesn't work in that particular environment that you're in. So
Right,
work with what the plant is showing you. So I know, okay, spring. And when I say spring, I'm talking about when snow is still on the ground. I can easily plant lettuce and spinach. They are fine. Just cover
right,
them up with something, they're fine. Right now, I should be tapering down. So I can plant a second crop now so that it can, or I'll wait a little longer and plant my second batch of spinach and lettuce. Why am I going to fight with the heat? Well, it's not hot now and it's raining a lot in my zone, but I'm not going to fight with it. It doesn't make no sense. I'm better
no,
off either bringing them indoors and doing an indoor lettuce harvest because I can do the AC on in the house with lettuce and then put the tomatoes and stuff outside. Let them go to the heat.
right,
It's cheaper that way too. I'm not doing as much energy to keep these things, going
right.
outside of their natural climate. It don't make no sense. Use nature to your advantage. Even though you work in indoors sometimes, depending on your zone, use nature as much to your advantage as possible. Let the nature do the work for you.
Yep.
I think that's
Uh,
better.
yep. When nature do the work for you, your job become easier and you get
Right.
better production. You see your plants produce better, your plants grow more
Like
brilliant,
fuller.
more
Yeah. Yeah.
healthy.
Hmm.
You know, most of the time we just be battling with nature, and that does be our problem. We battle with
Right.
nature, trying to do all these things to these plants when these plants don't really need all what you offering.
No.
Especially if you're doing outdoors. Indoors is different, but
Hmm.
outdoors, let the sun, let the rain, let the energy outside control the plant, and you see a big difference. Can like I always say, container garden, just make sure your container is big enough and your job become easy. Pack your
Mm-hmm.
container with leaf and these stuff in the fall, so you're gonna create that cushion to help protect the heat from the
Yeah.
root of the plant. So pack your container in the fall. Don't wait till the spring, because if you pack the leaf in the fall, it's gonna start breaking
It'll
down
break
by the
down. Yeah.
spring.
Mm-hmm.
So do the work
That's
in the fall.
that's an excellent point. That's it, because exactly that's exactly what I'm going to start doing. And you said the same thing that had been in my mind. Don't wait till the spring. When the fall you're cleaning up, I'm going to put the chicken manure, everything on the beds and the stuff, and let it break down for the winter. Let the nature do the work for me. Break it down
That's
in
it.
the pots and in the beds, and all I have to do now is maybe turn it a bit. Well, you shouldn't turn. Well, you do you thing, I do my thing, because
Right.
if you don't turn your soil in pots, it become anaerobic. There's no oxygen flowing. The soil becomes lifeless, and all you see is a lot of bugs in the container consuming, overproducing in the pots. That is. So sometimes the earwigs, the roly polies, you have to turn the soil sometimes in the containers just to get the oxygen flowing. It's not just about water and soil; it's oxygen as well. And if there's no oxygen in the soil, it's just getting moldy. It's just getting, so you have to know what you're doing and apply what works for that particular style of gardening. In ground is not the same. You don't have to be turning, but in a pot, you go turn that pot over and see what's underneath the bottom, and what it smells like. It'll tell you. You'll know if it's healthy or it needs to air out.
Yes, every plant need air, and in containers, it needs some kind of airflow in the container as well. All the roots need air, oxygen. So that is very important. This is why I'm saying use the leaf in the fall, so
Hmm.
it's gonna prevent the door to get compact, because when you got to remember, when you pour in soil in a container and you water in it, this thing's getting, more you water it, more
Compact.
it get
Yep.
compact. More
Hmm.
you water it, more it get compact. More you water it, more it get compact. No, this leaf is creating a barrier between the dot, and this is what causing that airflow. So
Hmm.
in allowing it to compact to each other, it giving it that place where it have air, because all plants need oxygen, need a
Yes.
airflow. All
Hmm.
plants. So that's important too.
And even the compaction, what people don't realize in containers, it makes it difficult for the roots to move.
Definitely.
It's stifled, and you wonder why your plant is not growing. And it's really sometimes just over compaction. The roots could not move through the soil to establish itself, and you'll find that the roots some
Yes.
of them are very shallow, and any little wind blow, the plant turn over because
Yeah.
it couldn't run deep. Good morning,
That's
girl,
true.
dad.
That's
Yeah.
true.
So you
The-
have to, like, I know I believe in the no-till method of gardening. I do believe in that for in ground and not to till overly till, because it's better to leave it. But you have to be amending it with some leaf and mulch and seeing some things happening. And if you don't see mushrooms and certain things happening in the soil, maybe do and it's too compact, then give it a mild tilling. But the containers, you have to turn it, because you have to remember it's stopped with a barrier of plastic, and all the water and stuff is sitting there sometimes, and it just gets moldy.
yes.
Not the good mold, not the good mold from the nature. I'm talking about the bad mold.
In the fall is really a good time to really prepare your containers. Honestly, in the fall is one of the best time you could prepare your container,
Mhm.
because in the fall you have months. You have go all the way into the spring. So
Mhm.
within that time, nature is walking on that. Nature is walking on that. You ain't even got to do anything. Nature is walking on that. So by the time the spring come, this soil is ready for plantings.
Ready. And you want to see worms? Heh, you're gonna see
Exactly.
nothing but worms in there.
Exactly.
Nothing but worms. I'll put up what Howie's saying. He said roughage in the soil holds oxygen. Wood chips, coffee grounds, biochar has holes to hold oxygen for homes for microbes that feed the plants and to plate to person. So exactly, you have to amend your soil, and leaf for sure is number one, and it's free. I will
Well,
go around and collect leaves from places that don't even belong to me. I just go and pick up leaf.
well, leave.
Pick up leaf.
Well,
Pick up
let,
coffee ground. Go, you just go, all your ashes from the barbecue. Don't throw them out. That's good fertilizer. Fireplace. Well, as long as it's not no chemicals in those wood briquettes you're using, but the natural stuff. Go and use the ashes. One of
yes.
the best things to use.
I mean, there's so much natural thing you could use and really, you see, in this thing, you got to stay focused because it's so much things out there that you
Hmm.
hear about, and I don't use any of them. And I've been doing gardening for this how much years,
Long
and
time.
in that area, I've been gardening on the same place for so much years, and nothing changed because every year you maintain and you add
Hmm.
every fall. So I don't really do a fall garden. I don't plant nothing in the fall. I use the fall to
To
like
let your land
walk on the
rest.
soil.
You
Yes,
give your land
exactly.
rest time. Yeah.
Exactly.
That makes sense
So
because if you overproduce, it's not helping your land either.
exactly. So so it's all about, I believe in production. I believe in production and a great healthy looking garden with healthy plants. And I'm telling you guys here today, this morning, them leaf that falls off the tree, if you could scrape them up and put them in a corner and allow them for breakdown, add some of them in your container, you won't regret it. And it will
Yeah.
save you a bunch of money at the same time.
What people have to remember is people who grow herbs should know, and even fruit trees, the leaves are more nutrient dense than the actual fruit themselves. The leaves were capturing the sun's photosynthesis, chlorophyll. The leaves are actually better for you than the fruit most times. That's why people drink soursop leaf tea and all, and papaya. Like, the leaves are more powerful. So you can imagine putting that in your garden to break down. No chemical, well, for the most part, no chemicals, no interference. it, what people don't realize is that they try so many products and they use so many things that they attribute to their success that really did not do anything in your garden. You think it
Yes.
did because you put this, that, and the third, and I got excellent garden, so that means it worked. No, maybe it didn't do nothing. It did nothing either way, but you
Sometimes
don't know because you haven't removed it from your gardening stuff.
sometimes it causes more harm than good. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah, it causes more harm.
Listen to me. When you when you use these natural stuff, I'm telling you, your soil becomes so rich, and the smell of it is so pure, like it's a pure scent.
Hmm.
Because everything is just natural, so everything just breaks down, and the soil is so pure and clean, and then everything you chuck in the soil, you realize everything just growing and flourishing, producing so much. Anything you plant grow. So
I
it
think
might.
Howie said it best, the layers. I think when you started on your property, you said it was clay, it was tough,
Yes,
but
Rockley.
you've been actively putting in the layers for them to break down. And
Yes,
what people don't maybe realize is what you did last year is what your plants are feeding on this year. And then
exactly.
so on and so on. So this fall when you nourish your soil and amend your containers, that's going to help maybe a season or two in the future. So you can't, if you're gardening with, I need to feed my plant now, and you're buying all this stuff to feed your plant now, that's not how nature works. Nature
Right,
is layers,
right.
layers. And if you're not putting that in like a permaculture kind of style in your homestead, you're really going to deplete your land faster than you really thought. And it's going to be of no use to anybody. You have to be nature does not use this year's nourishment. It's using last year, 2 years ago's nourishment. You have to put into the bank before you can withdraw. So right now we're trying to tell you, put into the bank, soil bank, literally, and have leaf layers, your mulch, your kitchen scraps. You have your manure and your pine shavings from your manure, your bed bedding from your animals, the rainwater, coffee grounds, tea leaves, all the stuff. Layer it and let the worms start doing the work and bring in some biochar. All that is layers to create a bank so that it can now withdraw from the bank. If you only have just enough to get you through the season, you're going to have problems real fast, real fast.
Yes, talking about that too. In the This is why I always say as well, it's not gonna happen overnight. So
Mm-mm.
and this is why I'm telling you, saying as well, start your preparation back in the fall. Not Don't wait till the spring, because if you wait till the spring, that is not gonna be doing anything to your plants.
No,
Like you mentioned, what you add this year is basically go ready for the follow, not for the other year, which make a lot of sense because everything take time to break down. It's not just
correct.
gonna just you add it and it just start feeding the soil. No, this is why you got to maintain as well. You keep maintaining your soil. So every year, what you add last year gonna blend in and ready for the following year. So yes,
Correct. Yeah. People want quick fix. Like, somebody in the community did a video, a big channel, and they used some manure and um, she used last year's manure, no problem. She ran out, bought some new manure, just used it. And when her plants all started dying, it's like, what's going on? And when she smelt the manure, it was smelled like ammonia. And
this
same thing. I don't like to buy soil and use it same time. I like to buy it and keep it for several months before I use it in the garden if I can, because I can't trust them that it broke down properly.
listen to me. I go and I check out some of the compost them. I went
Hmm.
and I just wanted to check to see how the quality and how far they break down. And the truth is, many of these things don't even break down. There's fine wood grind up, and sometimes you still could see the wood chip inside of it. This thing is not ready to feed no plant.
No.
These things, you need to see how so, soil look, what thing wood chip look when it break down. You need to see how leaf look when it break down. You will These things fine, and when water wet them, it's like they want to melt away into the soil. That's what you call breaking down. A lot of
Hmm.
these things is not break down, and we feeding our plants with them, and some of them is even bake. So they bake out everything out of it. There's just dry bake out wood, and we
Yep,
using
yep,
them.
yep.
Yes, we using them and believe we're doing something. But
And full of insects that are gonna now infest your property.
exactly. So this is why I stick to what I'm doing for over 10 years, planting the same spots them, and I stick to it, and it working great for me. This is why I try to encourage others. If you have the leaf and all these things around you, make use of them.
Hmm. I think it's also causes us to well, me to question, and we should be questioning. If you have set up your beds already, and let's say your containers, your raised beds, all the different things are set up already. Why do we have to be spending so much time and money buying bags and bags of compost every season?
You
Like,
don't need to.
where is it going? Where, like, are you washing it away? Are you not doing the right things to keep it from eroding? Like, something not really adding up for me when we have to keep going to buy all this stuff every time just to garden. You're not doing something properly because you should not be buying bag and bag of something every year.
Well, yes, a lot of it, especially you see watering do release of a lot of soil out your container, watering.
Mhm. Mhm.
This is why I always say you don't want to water your plants too heavy. That it washing out the nutrient, it washing out soil, it washing out so much stuff out of the container. So yes, the container will be getting lesser and lesser. But what I'm saying is, instead of you run and buy all these bags of compost in the fall, you
Mhm.
add some leaf to the top, or and then cover it with a little soil and just leave it there.
Right,
What
and then
what
your pot will be fine for the spring. That's what I'm saying. I
Yes,
agree with you because I'm like,
yes,
why you have to go to the store and buy 20 bag of black cow and 20 bag of something every year? I understand buying a 1 or 2 bag for top up the stuff, right? But
right.
we're refilling it from ground zero. So something not really making sense. And then those who garden in the ground, we weren't buying soil every year at my parents' house. Maybe every
Ex-
2 or 3 years we would buy a big old bunch of compost. And only because I said, let's start doing things, more modern. We weren't doing none of that.
That's
None of
it.
that. We
That's
kitchen scraps. We use the manure, get rabbit manure from whomever and whatever, and and leaf and different stuff. We weren't buying no. Who have money time for that? Every year, if you buy 20 bag of manure if you grow 1 tomato, you must be mad. We ain't doing that.
exactly. Exactly. You know what? You
It
know
don't
what?
make
This is
no
the
sense.
thing. This is the thing. You go out there, spend hundreds of dollars, and when you harvest your production, you're barely getting anything out your crop. And every year you're spending hundreds of dollars. When I'm telling you, you don't have to. That's
No,
what
you
I'm
don't.
saying.
It
You
doesn't. It wouldn't
really
make
don't.
gardening productive. It wouldn't make it financially productive. It doesn't make any sense. I had to buy dirt this year because I'm filling up 2 brand new beds, and I might get a
Mhm.
third brand new bed to set it up so that in the spring it's already the dirt has been broken down and it's been so quote unquote cleaned up by the sun. Then I'm gonna plant in it. But I'm not buying dirt to keep refilling beds that maybe 1 bag I need per bed. That's about it. I
Yeah,
don't
you
need to
just
buy
got.
bags and bags. It doesn't make any sense. So something you're doing is wrong. Sorry. Not sorry. Something we're doing doesn't make sense. If you have to be buying bags and bags of dirt, where's the dirt going? Yes, the rain washes off some of the dirt, but where's the rest of it going?
I think you see this is why wherever you gardening, you got to garden and see what working for you, because like I always say, there's a lot of distraction on the platform, different people, because everybody's sharing different ideas of how they're doing
Sorry,
stuff.
you went low, planter. You went low.
Oh no, oh
Oh, that's
sorry.
better. That's better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was saying, right? This is why wherever you gardening, you got to see with your eyes what is working. That's why you pay attention, because there's a lot of distraction out there. If you follow some people, you'll be spending thousands of dollars every year for a garden, and you barely getting any harvest from it, because people recommending all different type of product, all different type of compost, all different, oh, use this and use this, and you following these people, and then you catch yourself spending all these money into these products, and then you can't see no production.
No.
When you could stay natural, stay simple, see what works for you in where you are, and spend less and get better production from your plants.
You're correct. I'm laughing at Brampton. She goes, she needs bags, a few bags every year. A few bags is okay, but when people are buying, I see what they're buying is enough to redo the whole. I'm like, something not adding up. Like I pour out my soil, I remix it with stuff. Um, Sam said something about the soil and the companies. I've been complaining for the last 2 weeks because I was telling you guys the herb garden challenge. I use a certain soil, and the soil dry out in 2 seconds. Bone dry.
A lot
Well,
of
it
these,
says
a lot of
moisture
these,
control.
a lot of these soil do not, they cannot hold nothing. You see, they have. This is why I just say sometimes add a little clay to your soil, because the
Hmm.
clay is what gonna help hold some moisture in the container, especially when you're buying these type of soil. You should add a little clay,
Mhm.
because some of these things you add water and it runs straight out of the container.
Planter, it don't make no sense. You pay good money for the potting mix. I put it in a pot that has a reservoir. Why is the thing drying out and it's raining, I had so much rain
Right.
and the thing drying out. You have to mix your
Yes.
soil. I don't care what brand. I bought the miracle one. Hey Barb, and it you have to mix it with other things. Planter's not lying because I prove it. I said I'm going to use just this one soil. I'm not going to mix up with nothing because it's the herb. I don't want to have no other problem. And the amount of watering I have to water don't make
Yeah.
no sense.
Yeah, because it runs straight out. Nothing inside it to hold down the
No,
moisture.
it has fertilizer in it. It has built-in stuff and it has like the pearl and stuff. But what they said was quote unquote moisture control. That part's a lie. You
You
need to
see,
look at the soil for yourself and say, you know what, I need to add, X, Y, and Z to balance it out. Go ahead.
this is why we as people got to pay attention, because not because a bag, somebody write down some stuff on a bag meaning it's 100% correct. Somebody could just write stuff on a bag. We got to pay attention and see what is actually working. You can't just be buying the same thing because somebody recommending to you, and just keep buying it, spending money, hundreds of dollars every year. I just garden, I don't spend any money. I don't spend a dime unless I might want to buy see a new plant and I might want to buy it. But I don't spend any money on gardening. You got to watch. You can't
We
just
were talking
run
about
to
that
what
earlier, Nikki. Yeah.
you
Sorry, I
can't.
was reading her comment.
Oh, that's okay. You
She said
can't
that
just
the
run.
soil that she had used was stuck to the roots. So it was stopping the roots from like going deep, spreading, and that's why the plants then wouldn't grow. Her herbs wouldn't grow.
The soil get
I don't know
compact.
what was in that
Is
soil, but it was garbage. It was too compact. Yeah, I think it was
is too
garbage.
compact.
Telling you.
And I'm actually giving you what I'm doing. I'm actually giving you ideas.
Mm-hmm. You still there?
Yes, I'm actually giving ideas that for free. I'm not here trying to tell you go out there to spend $40 on a bag or on some thing in a container. I'm giving you free advice here. Get some leaf in the fall, pack in your container. That leaf gonna break down and it's gonna create a cushion between the soil. I don't know if you guys know clay soil or you ever walk with clay soil. Clay
Oh,
soil is
I
very
work with
easy.
clay. I don't like it. But
Right. You see how easy you see how easy it is to compact, right?
mm-hmm.
What could change clay soil is, I'm telling you from foolproof here. My garden was red clay. Do you red clay? But if you see it now, you're
Mm-hmm.
not gonna see. You wouldn't believe it was red clay, but it was actually red clay. Over the years, I keep putting the leaf, I keep putting the body of the tree into the garden, and it start breaking down and it transform it. That's free. Leaf, and that will help keep your
Yep.
your soil from compacting.
That was the best thing I started doing was collecting leaf. And at first I was embarrassed because I'm like, why am I going around picking up leaf bag on? But you know what? I have no shame because I use it for bedding for the chicken run in the winter months because it's cheaper than buying all this mulch. When you have to keep buying mulch, hell no. Me use
Right.
grass clipping in there now and then all kind of leaf. I have 3 bags of leaf from last fall in the garage to use for the upcoming winter. And I'm going to collect new leaf this fall and keep doing it like that because I
Yes.
know what's in those leaf. Nothing. And it's
Listen,
safe to use with my animals and safe to use in the beds.
like mentioned, these leaf is full of nutrient, because remember these big trees sink their root very deep under the soil, and
Mm-hmm.
these big trees draw up a lot of nutrients up into the limbs and into the leaf. So these leaf is full of nutrients. So when they break down in your soil, they release the nutrient into the soil. So see this leaf is one from my experience, guys, is one of the best thing I could have ever do. Using
I'm
leaf and
telling
the
you,
treat of the body is the best thing I could have
it's
do
the
because
best fertilizer. Best,
yes,
best, best, best.
it trains the soil from clay to actually soil. It's not compacting. So
And
it
it's
don't
free.
compact anymore.
And if you're in Ontario like I am, all you do is wait for when they have, the fall, people put their bags to the curb, and you pick certain areas where it's not much rubbish, and you just drive by and pop the bag in your trunk and go about your business. That's what I do. And I found some areas where I see people who have big trees. I'm not gonna go and bag it. I wait till they bag it. And then when I pour it out, I check for any, rubbish and stuff. And that's what I'm doing. Go to a park where the park workers have to bag up the leaves and go take up the bag of leaf.
And you
That's what you
gotta
have
do
to
it.
do.
You got you gotta do what you gotta do. I'm not trying to tell anyone what to use, and I'm only going to encourage people, just encourage people to know that there's natural thing you could use and get a productive garden. It's just not gonna happen overnight. It's gonna take
No,
some time, but you once you keep building it, it's gonna be improving. You build it
you have to
natural
you
and
have
it's
to
gonna
build. You
improve.
have to build it. If you don't build it, you're gonna deplete the soil, and then you're gonna have to be relying on, synthetics and so forth, and you're not gonna get the production. And if you don't want to give your land the rest time because of whatever reason, because you're in you want to grow all year long, then you have to be putting into the bank. If you don't put into the bank, you can't keep withdrawing. It's as simple as that. I
Yeah,
bought, as I told you, Nikki bought soil at Dollar Tree or Dollar General, and it was the worst thing ever. But no one in the community is ever gonna buy it because we're gonna remember Nikki's story. Not a
right,
one person is gonna buy that dirt. They may say, "Oh, I'll say no." They're gonna be no. Remember that? Remember what happened to Nikki? Mm-mm. We're not
right,
gonna buy it. I bought the miracle one and it worked. Don't get me wrong, it fed the plant, but I had to be watering all the time. We
right.
want to make our job easier. We don't want to give
And
ourselves more work.
and water bill ain't cheap, so you got to try to save that water however you can.
Use
Yes,
nature to your advantage. Leaves hold moisture. They're going to also break down and put nutrients back into the soil. It's going to attract and help feed the microbes when they get that leaf mold, add microbes to your soil. And it's going to attract the worms and whatever other things that are going to help build your soil. You got like five things right there just by
yes.
adding the leaf. And if you have the mulcher, I have access to a mulcher vacuum thingy. I can just take the bags and put the vacuum in there and it's going to mince them up for me, and then I can put that in the plants and make it a little easier. And then the chickens are gonna mince it up for me too. I put a bag of whole leaves in there, they mince it up in one day, shred it up
All
to
right.
nothing. Then I can shovel it back and put it out in the beds because I don't have to worry about the 6 month rule of composting manure. If I'm gonna put it out there for the winter and let it sit there for the winter months, I don't have to worry about the 6 month rule. Upgrade your beds at the end of the season so that when the spring starts, it's easier for you. And give nature a chance to break that down for you. Don't try to do it all in the spring. That's what Planter is absolutely correct. You have to prep your next season in the fall. If you don't do it, you're gonna be relying on buying things from the big box store, and that could just mess up your whole microsystem right there in your garden. Mess it all up.
Yep.
One wrong bag of something could mess up the whole thing.
Yes, all your hard work you put in for years. One bag could just change the whole microsystem you have growing for all them years. But oh
Ruin
man,
it.
I'm gonna drop down now. I just wanna
Yeah, man.
thank
Take
you.
care.
Thank you
Thank you.
for having me on your platform. And guys, don't forget tomorrow for the finale.
Finale of the Herb Garden Challenge, 8 p.m.
Yes. All right.
G Mama had dropped the link, so we will definitely drop it again for tomorrow's announcement
All
of
right.
the
Thank you. Thank you
winners.
all so much. You guys have a blessed day.
Thank you, Planter. Take care.
All right.
So again, guys, exactly. You have to prepare for the fall. I was trying to do a lot of these things in the spring, and I used to do it in the fall, and I kind of got my family into doing it in the fall. And it's just easier because once you're done, you can just sit back and rest and just start planning your seeds and your selection of gardening plants and maybe where you're going to plant what. Going into this next growing season 2025, I'm going to draw a little sketch of my garden and I'm going to plan out what I'm going to plant where and be a bit more organized and see if when I move things around if it improves or if it does the same thing, because it might improve if I start moving things to different spots. Where did I have spider mites? Where am I seeing a lot of aphids? Where am I seeing, the roly polies? I saw some earwigs and they like to burrow into the soil. I'm gonna have to figure out how to get rid of them. I had a few snails this year. How can I mix it up and keep them from coming? And what I did learn, even with the herbs, I did not put any mulch on top of those containers. So even if I don't use mulch, I do have huge bags of pine shavings for the chickens. I should have put some pine shavings on the top, especially the grow bags, because grow bags, as you know, dry out very much. Now, we've had so much rain that I haven't really had to do that. So it hasn't been that much of an issue. But going forward, grow bags take a lot of time to keep watering and they dry out so quickly. So I'm going to make sure I amend it with some manure and so forth, amend the beds in the fall. And then I'm going to also make sure that I put some of those pine shavings on top of the bags going forward. So in the fall, I'm going to put the manure mixed with the shavings on the top of the grow bags. I'm going to mix it in and put a layer on top and let that break down all winter. So in the spring, there should be still a layer on top. I just, opening and plant my plant in the middle. If I need more pine shavings, then I can just sprinkle some more on there to add as a mulch. Because this year I did that with my strawberry bed, and that made a much improved results because the berries weren't sitting on the dirt, and the potato bugs and the other little worms and the slugs weren't able to get to it so quickly. But I don't know what happens with you guys, but this year I'm going to be trying to get shade cloth. I don't need it this season, but because the neighbor's tree pretty much toppled over and certain things have changed, there's going to be a lot more sun pressure on the upper level of my garden. And that's where I'm adding more beds. So I'm going to have to make sure that good morning, Bud Files, and good morning, Hands in the Dirt. And I think Barb Brownlee, if I missed you, good morning to you as well. I'm gonna have to get shade cloth. So I like to get things early enough on sale because I'm cheap. I'm cheap, and find some shade cloth on sale. I talked about this with you guys maybe a year ago because of the climate is changing, and those of you who are hey, good morning, Fifi. Those of you who are hot are getting hotter, and those of you who are cold are getting a little bit hotter. And what's happening in the colder zones for me, I'm observing it's not like it's hotter, but when we have those harsh, intense days, I don't know what's with those sun. It just like literally like a laser beam burning the plants. And it's just too much. It's not about watering, it's just too much for the plant, that intensity of the sun rays. So I'm going to make sure I have shade cloth so that going forward, I can cover up those upper beds to protect them from the intense heat. And also the issue is the extremes from the hot to the cold, the yin and yang extremes. Like last night was freezing, and then the day was pretty warm. And then the next day is rainy, and then the night is warmer. And then the next day is burning hot. It's just there's too much variations with temperature, with the humidity, and it's confusing everybody. The plants, the birds are confused, everyone's confused. Let me see what Barb is saying. I live in a wooded area with 10 plus trees on my property, so I have tons and tons of leaves stored in large wooden bins in the backs of the garden, along with my non-chemical grass. Grass clippings have been a new thing I've been doing. All the years previous, the lawnmower did not have a bag at the back. It's just a matter of I would rake it up and use it and put it in the compost bin. But I didn't really use that much grass clippings. I'll just leave it on the lawn to nurse the lawn again. And but now that I have the chickens, I'm throwing it in there, bags and bags of grass, and they just go through that, look for bugs, and they mulch that up even more, mix it with the manure and the soil and all the other crap in there, like literally, and just mix it all up. And you'll come back the next day and there's nothing really green, maybe 2 days, nothing much green on top. All that's going to be shoveled out and put into those bags in the fall. Excellent. Those grass, and I don't put anything on my lawn. I don't spray my lawn with any chemicals. I don't spray the weeds. I don't do any of that. So I know what's in the grass clippings. And another property, somebody gave me a bag of grass clippings. There's only about 2 or 3 places that I would take it from. I don't know anybody else who does things as naturally as I may do it. So I'm not taking their grass clippings. Um, G Mama saying she tried to do a sketching for a garden. Nothing is in the spot that I planned for. I just want to get a plan together to figure out because again, this year, my family's laughing at me. I thought you were cutting back. I did cut back. I didn't grow as many varieties of plants. I did a bit better, but there's so many plants. I'm telling you. So shade cloth is on my list. I would suggest the rest of you also try to get it and find it on sale and then put it aside for when you need it because the sun rays are getting a bit more intense, even over here, and I'm in a colder zone. White for extreme heat. Okay, white. Okay, thanks for the tip. 'Cause I was gonna get black. My problem is how do you run the sprinkler with shade cloth? It's impossible. I don't have shade cloth, but the bags I have over the plants that protected my bok choy and my cabbages, like those mesh bags. When I water, the water goes right through the mesh bag. So I don't know how dense your shade cloth is. I'm gonna have to maybe ask the manufacturer because I want the water to be able to run through it and go through it. Otherwise, it's gonna be too much. You're right. That's too much work. Um, so I got to figure that out as well as some kind of semi-automated watering system or just something to hold more moisture in those pots, especially the grow bags. The grow bags have so many holes from the roly polies. I have some brand new bags that I've bought from before. I'm gonna let these ones totally be no good before I throw them out. And the ones that I have, I'll use them. But after that, I'm not gonna go back to grow bags. Grow bags are great, and I know they talk about air pruning and blah blah blah, but I'm not growing the plant long enough to even that be an issue. Maybe for a tree that would be an issue or a perennial, but all my perennials are in the ground. There's not really a perennial that I'm thinking. Do I have any perennials in pots? Maybe some chives and some scallions, but this air pruning was this whole thing. Really? I'm done with air pruning. It's not helping. If I have to water every single day, you're not helping my gardening because they're making me have to spend too much time watering things that in a plastic pot would have been able to be watered maybe every other day, every third day. So you're not helping me. It doesn't make any sense. Um shade cloth is the next thing. Hey Jason, I think that's everything. Um I have laundry buckets, 20 gallons for $10. I'm not sure if you all have a big box store that we do have, but HD and the big blue L has it. Oh, I know what you're talking about. I need a couple of more of those to plant some of my trees in. My fig cuttings are doing very well, and I know I talked to Odom and he mentioned to keep taking from the center. I'm gonna take some more cuttings off of the brown turkey fig because that was the one that was all over the place with directions. I'm gonna cut some more and get some trees. I'm gonna cut the Bordeaux one, the Violetta Bordeaux, um, and get some cuttings off of that, and maybe the third one. As long as the limbs, there's not too many. If there's enough limbs that I can cut and take them off, I will do it. If not, I'll wait till next season. I don't see any fruit producing, but that's fine. Maybe it's still getting established. I might have to up pot one of them to those laundry tubs. So I do have a couple of tubs. And yeah, Planter said in the beginning when he came up, you need the right size container. There's no going around that point. You have to put the right size container. If you're going to have things, especially trees in containers, you're going to need to put it in the right size. And after a few years, it might get pot bound. You're going to have to take it out the pot. And some people do root pruning, where they prune the roots and so that it would stay within a certain size and not get, pot bound. You're going to have to do it because you can't keep these trees in these small pots, nursery pots. They're not going to do well. So I will up pot my fig trees at some point this year, and I need to create an orchard up top and put some kind of skids or something to put the buckets on. That way they can be balanced and they're not, because in the last windstorm on Sunday, when the tree fell over in my yard, the neighbor's tree, my trees in the buckets were blowing all over the place, left and right, and I lost a couple of fruit from the tree from it being knocked over. So I need something that's going to be even heavier to keep the weight down. Uh, because I didn't water it, it was light. I watered it, but whatever that mix is that came from the nursery, that mix is not heavy and dense. I don't know what's going on. Something needs to be changed because that pot should have been a lot heavier. And I put a brick in it and the wind still just took it over. So I'm going to repot some of those trees. The plum tree has been moved up top. I got to figure that out. But anyways, guys, thanks for coming here listening. Remember to study your herbs that you grew and find out the medicinal benefits, how to preserve them properly, and to harvest them frequently, and to make sure that you're using them to their full potential. And if you don't know, continue to research, check the scientific studies on these herbs, not just what you heard from the ancestors. Find out what's been researched and what has been tested, and make sure that it's something that you can use. Do your own research, talk to your doctor. Don't just be going out trying things because someone said to try it. I'll catch you all later. Thanks. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button before you leave if you haven't done so already. I will see you in these streets. I don't know. Again, I got to figure out who's on when because there's been some shuffling of the schedules. I'm not sure who's on, if someone's going on tomorrow, but we'll find out. But, we'll post it on our community tabs as it comes up. And be kind to yourself and be kind to others. All right. Take care.